Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and good morning. So we are gathered here for one more episode. Yeah, it's like a soap opera. Yes, all these questions from all over the world, people asking about various things concerned with spiritual life. So we felt, I used to feel bad that is unable to answer these questions, because if you try to write back on email, it's not satisfactory to anybody, not to me, not to the person who asked the question. And then somebody suggested that why don't you just discuss them online, then it will be preserved, people can listen to it later also. And that's how this started a few years back, and it's proved wildly popular. So what we do is, our heroic team selects a few questions, yes, a few questions from the internet audience, from the thousands which come from all over the world, and then we take those selections and we try to answer them. All right, let's go on.
So the first question, Swamiji, is from Nicholas T. Can you please explain the importance of earnestness and renunciation to truly progress in spiritual life? All of us have devotional tendencies and devote ourselves to something or other in daily life. Could it be better and more natural to be devoted to and let a personal higher power take the mind up gradually to the non-dual state, rather than intellectually grasping Advaita all the while? Sometimes can we not confuse intellectual understanding with the actual true assimilation where one experiences non-dual consciousness?
Well, the short answer is yes. The question is beautifully put, and it's important. First of all, he has pointed out the two essentials in spiritual life: renunciation and yearning. Tyaga and Vyakulata. Sri Ramakrishna was asked, what's the one condition of God realization, of enlightenment? And he said Vyakulata, which means a restlessness, a deep restlessness for God. That second part is important. Otherwise, most people say, yeah, I'm restless. Deep restlessness for God. We are mostly restless for the world, or because of the world. Restlessness for God. And renunciation at the same time. It's not enough to feel restlessness for God and be entirely engaged with the world all the time. A turning away from worldly pursuits, that's important. And the second part of it is well put. The path of devotion to a personal God or the impersonal absolute. Which one? Or an inquiry, a philosophical inquiry into the impersonal absolute. Which one? Which is better, which is more nourishing, spiritually speaking, practically speaking? There's a difference between an intellectually perfect philosophical system and one that is immediately practical and nourishing for us right now. Mm-hmm. As long as they tally and lead us to the same place. I remember years ago, I was teaching monastic novices in our main monastery in India. And you know my predilection for non-dualism. So most of my classes and what I said was heavily tilted towards non-dualism. And I had a little concern. So I asked a very senior monk of our order, who's now one of the vice presidents of our order, very spiritual Swami, very spiritually advanced monk. I asked him that these classes I am giving for the monastic novices, and they're very popular. People, the young monks like it and they're flocking to these classes. But I'm worried that I'm skewing them towards one direction. So I asked, can it be a problem? And he said, no, it's not a problem because of two reasons. One is, remember, you are not the only one people are listening to. That's true of the young monks there. They have many other teachers. And that's true of all of us, who, including the gentleman who's asking the question. So you are not the only one they're listening to. And the second thing is, the truth never hurts anybody. The non-dual truth will not hurt you. It may not be immediately useful to everybody right now, but it will not hurt you. It can only do you good. But I persisted with my question. I put it in another way at another time to the same monk. I see among the young monastic novices two kinds of approach to spiritual life. There are those who find Vedanta, the non-dual Vedanta, I am Brahman, fascinating. And they love the arguments, they love the philosophical inquiry, and they feel it to be real also. It's not just a theoretical study for them. It feels real and good to them. They are there. And there's this other group of young monastic novices who have a deep personal devotion to God, to Sri Ramakrishna. Remember, the monastery is centered around the temple of Sri Ramakrishna in Belur Math. So they love the bhajans, they love the puja, they do simple things like going and making a flower garland for Sri Ramakrishna, things like that, personal service, the deity, and a love to a personal God, a personal relationship. Which of these two is better for spiritual life? I asked. Which of these two is better for spiritual life? And that's Swami, he immediately said the second one. So, a deep personal relationship with the divine, a loving personal relationship with the divine is more nourishing, at least at our stage, when we are beginners, more nourishing, more practical, more easily doable, safer, and is more conducive to quick progress. A deeper dive in the path of non-dual Vedanta, when we inquire into who am I and we discover this limitless awareness which I am. Now what happens is, this kind of understanding is at the level of the intellect. At first, intellectually, my conviction, my paradigm was, I am this body-mind. Upon examination, it seems, yes, I am awareness, and in awareness, this body-mind appears, and this awareness is also limitless awareness, as Vedanta teaches me. All this becomes more and more clear. But there it stops. And what happens is, desires, that which the pulls and pushes of the world, the terrors and temptations of the world, they are not at an intellectual level. They are more visceral. They are at the level of what is called the heart or prana, the level of the emotions. And that is not changed by this understanding. And so attention is set up in the mind of the jnani, the person who is immersed in non-dual Vedanta. Attention is set up where there is still a lot of worldliness in the person's mind, in the subconscious, in the heart, and all this lofty philosophy is also there. So these two, there is a tension. I've often repeated what I heard from a monk there, that so rota hua jnani kisko pasand hai? What's the use of a whining enlightened person? A person who claims to be enlightened, who says I am Brahman, but has many problems. Anger, irritation, desire, grudges against others, all kinds of problems are there. Pettiness, jealousy. What's the use of that kind of spirituality? It's not very impressive. Why is that problem there? Is because at the level of the intellect something may have been clarified. There's no doubt about it. A clarity has come. But the mind has not been cleared up yet. Mind has not been cleared up. Yesterday we were at a retreat, and when we at Ridgely Manor in Vivekananda Retreat, upstate New York, and we were done with the retreat, and Mataji there, she made the concluding announcement that those who are here, before you leave, could you help with the cleaning up? Yes, that's a deep spiritual teaching. This is the secret to Jivan Mukti. What is Jivan Mukti? Yes, you are turning away from the body-mind world, from worldly pursuits. I am not the body, I am not the mind. But before you leave, clean it up. Don't abandon it without cleaning it up. If you don't clean it up, it will latch on to you. What I mean is this personality with its issues. So the purification of the mind, purification of the heart, that happens more easily with devotion. The practical takeaway is, I and many non-dual teachers also, in the traditional non-dual path, will recommend a strong dose of bhakti along with your Advaitic meditation. It's a bhakti supplement. Like vitamins. When you take strong medicine, you need vitamins also. A strong dose of personal have a loving relationship with God along with your non-duality. It's entirely compatible. All the traditional non-dualists, even the Shankarite monks throughout the centuries, many of them were great devotees. It's entirely beneficial. I remember my own pointed experience in this regard. It's about 20 years ago. I was off to the high mountains in Gangotri, and a little cottage. I would beg for food. This is a place where monks were provided food. It's not as difficult as it sounds. And the whole day I was free. I had only one book, Ashtavakra Gita, the highest non-dualism. And a very wise old monk who lived in the cottage next to mine, just above mine, it was on the slope of a mountain. He asked me, "What are you reading?" I showed him this book. It's Ashtavakra Gita. He says, "That's good." But he went inside his cottage and he bought out an old tattered book in Hindi, Sanskrit and Hindi. Vishnu Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Vishnu. He said, "Ye bhi padhiye Mahatma ji. Oh monk, read this also together with that. Nahi to akelapan chubega." He says, loneliness will bite you. Which is an interesting comment to make to a monk who wants to enjoy solitude. But if you want to enjoy solitude, enjoy it with God. You don't need any other person, but keep God with you. A devotional relationship. Yes. So the answer again, short answer, as I said, yes. This all what I said is an explanation of yes, what he says. Anybody from the audience? Yes, the lady there. Please come up here, tell us your name and ask the question.
Hi, Swamiji. I'm Priya. So I was reading Ramana Maharshi, and he says the self itself is our guru, and there is no need of, there is no other guru other than the self. But if we so desire for a guru, the self itself takes a physical form and appears as the guru. So going by that, do we assume when the guru speaks, it is the self speaking to us? Because in Advaita we see that the self is just a witness and doesn't do anything else.
Yes. So do we need a guru or not? And what is the connection of this guru to the Advaitic self? Ramana Maharshi says the self itself. You don't need a guru other than the self. And remember, whenever he talks about the self, it's the capital S self. All that, again, the answer is yes. In all traditional Advaita classes in the mountains, the classes would begin, when the text studies would begin with a verse. All the monks together would chant it. Ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vibhagine vyomavad vyapta dehaya dakshinamurtaye namaha. I salute Dakshinamurti Shiva, who appears to me as Ishvara, God, and Guru. and my own self. I, the spiritual seeker, and my spiritual master, Guru, and God. All three are one reality, which is Dakshinamurti, which is my real self, capital S self. So in that sense, classical Advaita Vedanta, traditional Advaita Vedanta would firmly support that it is your real nature, which is existence, consciousness, bliss, which appears as your Guru. Indeed, it appears as the whole world. It appears as you, the individual being Priya. It appears as the whole world which you inhabit, and as your spiritual Guru, and as the God of this world. All of that is ultimately your real nature. But when you say the self appears as the Guru, it means the Atman or Brahman. It does not mean the individual Priya. The individual Priya, you are the Jiva right now. And you are the spirit, you identify as the spiritual seeker. And you take help from the Guru to realize what you truly are. When you realize what you truly are, you will see that alone appears as everything. And it was by the grace of that alone that the Guru came into your life. Now, you asked a follow-up question. But in Advaita Vedanta, the self is pure consciousness. It's a witness consciousness. It doesn't do anything. Why would it guide you? Why would it appear as the Guru? That was the question? Yes and no. Remember, it is that one consciousness which is a witness, does not do anything, and yet does everything. What does it mean? Consider yourself in your own dream. I in my own dream. So maybe I'm walking around talking with friends and smelling a flower, tasting a cup of tea, listening to music. When I wake up, what will I say? All those were appearances created by me, the dreamer. There were really no flowers, there was no cup of tea, no friends to meet. I was also not walking about in a garden. And yet whatever was there was because of me, the dreamer. So in one sense, I am the witness of the entire dream. I did not do anything. In another sense, whatever there was in the dream and whatever happened in the dream was nothing other than me. When you say the self is only the witness and nothing else, and you stop there, that's Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya says you're the witness consciousness, and everything is done by nature, Prakriti. The whole universe operates time, space, matter, energy, that's all that's going on, and you are the witness consciousness. That's Sankhya, but two separate things interacting. In that case, you will not say that the self has become the Guru. You will say nature has provided you with your Guru, with a Guru. A further development of the Sankhya philosophy will be the dualistic devotional philosophies in Vedanta, which will unite the self and Prakriti and say that there is a Paramatma, supreme self, of which Prakriti is the power. And that generates the entire universe. And we, the individual selves, are devoted to that Paramatma, to that supreme self, which is we call God. And that Paramatma alone through Prakriti comes to us as Guru. So you can say God comes to us as Guru, or in Advaitic sense, our own self comes to us as the Guru. Both of them are true. Practically, it's very helpful to be part of a student-teacher lineage. Be centered, have a home tradition, and then be open. In our order, for example, in the Ramakrishna Vivekananda tradition, it is our tradition. This is our tradition. You can see who are the gurus, which is the lineage here. You can see in front of you. And there is the whole literature. There are the life stories of these masters and their disciples. We are part of this lineage. But we are also entirely open to all spiritual traditions. We are happy to read Christian mystic literature, Islamic mystic literature, Buddhist philosophy, and take whatever is useful and nourishing from that, learn from that. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
This question is from Veena Sampat regarding the mind and consciousness. When the mind brings up some disturbing thoughts and we decide to switch our attention to something more uplifting, is the direction to change my attention to an uplifting thought given by consciousness, or is it the mind itself? In the analogy of the chariot being the senses, the charioteer being the mind, and the consciousness sitting behind as the owner of the chariot, does consciousness have the capacity to give directions, or is it always only an observer?
All right. Basically, the question is, does consciousness, pure consciousness, the Atman, does it do anything at all? Like, for example, giving directions. Is it the controller? Is it there's a little guy in the head controlling everything, pressing the switches? You sometimes see huge construction machinery, cranes and stuff near buildings, and you'll see a little control box there, way up. And there'll be a guy sitting there pressing the buttons, and all the huge cranes and things will be moving. So is there a little guy sitting up there, which is called consciousness, which is controlling everything here? Or is consciousness just the witness? Now, she mentions the chariot analogy. That comes from the Katha Upanishad. So in the Upanishad, senses are not the chariot. The body is the chariot. Shariram is Ratham. Ratha is Sharira. Body is the chariot. And the senses are the horses. So the horses are running along the lanes on the road. And the lanes on the road are the 5 sense objects. Form for the eyes, sound for the ear, taste for the tongue, smell for the nose, touch, hard, soft, warm, cold for the tactile sense. So these are the horses, and the objects are the road on which they run. Now, how do you control the horses? With the reins. You hold these reins which are connected to the horses, and the charioteer holds them. The reins are the mind. So all the horses, all the senses report to the mind, and the mind controls them. See that, hear that, focus on this, taste that. So, and when the mind gives these commands, the eyes go there, the ears pay attention, the tongue goes and tastes that, all of that. So all the senses obey the mind, and the information they gather from the world outside, they dump into the mind. So the mind is like the reins. And then there is the driver, the charioteer. In a modern vehicle, you would say the mind is like the steering wheel. But the steering wheel is in the hands of the charioteer. And the charioteer is the buddhi, intellect. It's not consciousness. It's the intellect. The intellect drives the chariot. Where to go, speed, which turn to take, which exit ramp, and all of that. Everything is done by the charioteer. And then what about the passenger? That's you. That's the real you. And that's consciousness, Atman, witness consciousness. Now, according to Vedanta, if you use this paradigm, our problem is we think we are the whole chariot. We are the body and the senses and the mind and intellect, and consciousness, if you insist, yes, I'm conscious too. We don't pay much attention to that. But Vedanta tells you your consciousness and consciousness alone. The rest of it, the intellect and the mind and the senses and the body, they're all supplied by nature. It's Uber, it's not even your car. You hired it for a particular journey, yes. You've called it up, it's arrived, and now you're on a journey. It's going to drop you off at some time and go on. So, the body, the senses, the mind, the intellect, they all belong to nature. And they'll take you where you're supposed to go. So you are the witness consciousness. It's a good analogy. And remember, this analogy is meant for spiritual practice. And the Upanishad goes on to say, then what do we need to do to reach our goal, which is enlightenment? We need, first of all, the senses to be under control. The senses to be under control. The senses to be trained. So senses have their autonomous intelligence. We can train our mind, our tongue, our eyes, our ears, our tongue, to taste and see and hear that which is beneficial and develop a liking for that which is beneficial. Unless we train them, they'll go along instinctive paths or past programming, and then it might not take us where we want to go. So training of the senses, number one. Second, the mind which holds the senses. Imagine you're driving but the steering wheel comes loose in your hand. Then the car doesn't respond to what you're doing. If the reins with which you are controlling the horses are loose. So what is the training for the mind? It's called mindfulness. And today we are using the term mindfulness, literally that term, thousands of years ago. Yamaraja tells Nachiketa, samanaska, mindfulness, attention. Modern positive psychologists are discovering more and more how much depends on attention. See, people talk about, for example, love. Love. You know what we love? Whom we love? It's connected to attention. The more you attend to something, the more love comes. Sympathy, attention. So anyway, attention, make the mind mindful, aware of what we are doing, thinking. And then, what about the driver? What about the charioteer? What training is there for the charioteer? The buddhi, the intellect. It says, Vijnanavan must be filled with the right ideas and ideals, the right knowledge. For example, what we are doing in Vedanta, we are training the intellect, the driver. The driver must have the right coordinates. You must have fed in the right data into your Uber app. Otherwise, the driver won't take you to the right place. And then only you, the passenger, you will reach your goal, which is enlightenment. So it's a sort of it's an analogy or metaphor maybe. So there you can see the actual controlling of the vehicle is done by the intellect, not by consciousness. But it is done for the sake of consciousness in the presence of consciousness. It's done for the sake of the Atman in the presence of the Atman. It's done for you. The Uber will not go just by itself. It's because you called it up. Just by the way, in this age of AI, we can think about answering this question that way. Notice the chariot, the car, let's use a car, self-driving car. The AI can drive the car. There are self-driving cars now, and they do a pretty good job from what I hear. Really good job. Yeah. But they are not the passenger. The AI is not the passenger. You are the passenger. Therefore, it's entirely possible for the buddhi, the intellect, to drive the car by itself. But it's done for you, in your presence. Very ancient philosophy. This is called Sankhya. It says there are two ultimate realities in this universe. Consciousness, that's you. And everything else. Material nature, the whole universe. And this whole universe, material nature, serves the purpose of consciousness in the presence of consciousness. What is the purpose of all of this? If there is a purpose, yes, there is a purpose. It is called Bhoga Apavarga. Bhoga Apavarga. Bhoga means experience. Consciousness, for whatever reason, wishes to experience the universe. And the universe, material nature, will provide it with experiences, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, from the most terrible to the most sublime, from the grossest to the most artistic, all kinds of experiences, from hells to heavens, everything will be provided by nature to you, lifetime after lifetime, until you are tired of it, until you have learned and you are fulfilled and you want release. That is called apavarga. Apavarga is an ancient word for moksha. We have heard of terms like mukti, moksha, nirvana. Much more ancient word is apavarga, which is found in Sankhya philosophy. Release, the final release. That too, nature will provide. When you want that, you will find the mind gets equipped with detachment, yearning for self-realization. You end up listening to Vedanta talks on YouTube and bhajans instead of pop music, and then spend a Sunday morning in a Vedanta society instead of watching the game on TV or something like that. What has happened? Now nature, it's all nature. Nature is providing you with those elements needed for spiritual realization. Yes. So answer, yes. It is the buddhi, the intellect, which is the driver in the presence of consciousness. Is it done separately? No. Nature, according to Sankhya philosophy, nature acts for the sake of consciousness in the presence of consciousness. So the technical terms are Prakriti and Purusha. And the example they gave is, the lame man and the blind man. The blind man can walk but can't see where he's going. And the lame man cannot walk but can see where he is going. So the blind man takes the lame man on his shoulder and they go together. The lame man tells the blind man where to go, and the blind man takes the lame man where they have to go together. So it's a consciousness and matter, spirit and matter together. Spirit by itself is ineffective without the material nature. Material nature by itself is blind without the spirit. The two work together. This is Sankhya philosophy. It's not yet Advaita. What Advaita does is it takes one step more. It says that this material nature is also nothing other than you, the consciousness. You alone appear as this universe. It's non-dual. There is no second material nature apart from you. What appears as material nature to you is your own, is you. You are appearing to yourself as this universe. Yeah. From the audience, this gentleman, please come here. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Pranam Swamiji.
Yes.
Today is the day when I'm blessed to be in your presence after many years of listening to you. I've come all the way from Florida. My name is Gautam, and I'm humbled to be in your presence. And please, I'm asking your blessings to show me the way between the reflected consciousness and Aham Brahmasmi. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. This quest is the most precious thing in our lives. We are all here, we are united by one thing. We have a quest. We are all spiritual seekers. Some may be devotees, some may be interested in non-dual Vedanta, some may be more interested in meditation, some may be interested in doing good to the world. But we all have a spiritual quest. Some may be Hindus, some may be Christians, Muslims, whatever. Some may be atheists or spiritual but not religious. There are many such in America, especially these days. But we all are spiritual, and that's common. We all have a spiritual quest. One form it takes is the Vedantic inquiry. And there this question arises. How do you go from the reflected consciousness to I am Brahman? What that means is the teaching of Advaita Vedanta is that you are that ultimate reality. There is one ultimate reality which is existence, consciousness, bliss, which appears as this entire universe and therefore non-dual, because one reality appearing as many. The many are not separate from that one. So there is no second reality apart from that one. Hence non-dual. Where is this non-dual reality? What good does it do? If you realize that I am that non-dual reality, then all your problems are at an end, at a deep philosophical level. They won't pay off your debts or bills, they will not cure disease. That is the way of the world. But it will no longer matter to you. You will be able to cope with all the problems in the world and yet be centered and peaceful and fulfilled all the time. Obviously, because this non-dual reality, it's immortal. It's not born with the birth of the body, does not die with the death of the body. And hence, if I say I am that Brahman, if I realize that, I will also clearly see that I cannot die. That non-dual reality itself appears as this universe. So the non-dual reality is consciousness, it's one light. Then this universe is also one light. There is no darkness anywhere. That non-dual reality is fulfillment, what is called Ananda, Purnatvam, completeness. I am that completeness. Then there is no incompleteness, no dukkha, no suffering, no dissatisfaction anywhere. I'm just translating one of the most sublime things, claims for Vedanta which I heard from a sadhu. He said, Kahin koi mrityu nahi Mahatma ji, kahin koi jadata nahi, kahin koi dukh nahi. What a beautiful thing to say. There is no death anywhere, O monk. There is no darkness anywhere. There is no sorrow anywhere. When? You might say, after you become enlightened. No, right here, right now. It's already a fact. Isn't it worthwhile to realize that? There's nothing more worthwhile. Nothing even comes close to that. Now, where is this wonderful thing? It says it's you. It's very close to you. Indeed, it is you. Me, what me? How is it me? Not you the body, not you the mind, you the consciousness. That's the teaching. But the moment the teacher says you the consciousness, then this question comes. Because we already know what consciousness means. We have at least a kind of working idea. Yes, we all feel aware. Who doesn't feel aware? We all feel aware. We all feel conscious. We know what the word consciousness means more or less in English or in our native languages. And what we mean by consciousness, what that word means in English or in our native languages, is what Vedanta calls reflected consciousness. Chit Chaya, the shadow of consciousness, the reflection of consciousness, Chidabhasa, the appearance of consciousness. It is not the non-dual Brahman which Vedanta talks about. Rather, it's like its reflection. You have come close. You have come close. It's as close as looking at your face in the mirror. I'm trying to experience my own face. And the closest I've come is I see the reflection. That is my face. Yes and no. That's not your face. That's a reflection in the mirror. If you go and touch that, you will not touch your face. You will just touch glass, which is catching a reflection, generating a reflection. The consciousness that we feel is like that reflection. And as that reflection is very, very close, intimately close to your real face, so is the consciousness that we feel now, intimately close to our real nature as Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, place, Brahman. As the journey from that reflected face to our real face, so is the journey from this reflected consciousness to the non-dual consciousness which I am. What is the journey? First of all, you have to find out what's the relationship between the real face and the reflected face. What's the connection? You'll have to say, no connection. Listen to this carefully. No connection from the perspective of the real face and the reflection. The real face is not bothered with the reflection. Do you understand what I mean? Let the reflection be there. The real face is just the same. Let the reflection not be there, the real face is just the same. Let the reflection be there in a distorted mirror, concave, convex. You've seen the trick mirrors? The face becomes like this, face becomes like this. The real face is just the same. Go to a barber shop, you're surrounded by mirrors. There'll be 10,000 reflections. The real face is just the same. So the real face has no connection with the reflection. No relationship with the reflection. So, non-dual Brahman has no relationship with the reflected consciousness. However, this is very subtle. The reflected face has a relationship with the real face. The reflected face is a kind of a borrowing from the real face. Is a kind of imitation, a channeling of the real face. These are words used in different schools of Vedanta which try to understand this mystery. Pratibimbavada, Avachedavada, Abhasavada, three main schools are there. What is the relationship of the reflected consciousness with the ultimate reality? Ultimate reality with the reflected consciousness? No relation. But why do I feel related to the reflected consciousness? Remember, what is the reflected consciousness? Reflected consciousness shines in the mind. And the reflected consciousness is connected to everything in the mind. And the mind is connected to everything in the body. The moment I think I am this reflected consciousness, I am also the mind and the body, automatically. If you think you are the reflected face, you are immediately connected to the mirror. And then the dust on the mirror also will affect you, a crack on the mirror also will affect you. So, what is the connection? Why do I feel that? And the answer is stupidity. Sadhu said, Bevkufi matra hai Mahatma ji. It is what Vedanta calls ajnana, ignorance. And to chip away at that ignorance is to listen to these Vedanta teachings, to begin to draw our attention away from the body to the mind, from the mind to the reflected consciousness. From the reflected consciousness, the reflected face, from there turning this way. That final turning it can't be done by anybody else. You'll have to do it yourself. Their words will fail, thoughts will fail. Up to reflected consciousness, words can work, our thoughts and understanding can work, we can locate it also. ask yourself the question, to whom or to what does this reflection appear? There's no way of answering. Don't try to answer it in words. Just notice it in reality. Notice it in reality. Here is the body. I'm aware of it. Here is the mind. Thoughts, feelings, emotions. I'm aware of it. Here is the awareness itself. I am aware. That is also an experience. To whom or what is that experience? If you try to pursue it, you will come to a quietness, a blankness. That quietness or blankness is also appearing to something. It's an experience after all. To what is that quietness or blankness appearing? If you push back further, you will get it. There's no words which can express it. What you get, drop that also. Because there will be an element of the mind there. There's a speck of the mind still working there, which you are using for your investigation. Drop that also. As you can see, there is nothing to be said at that point. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, can you ask the question? Keep your questions ready. I'll call upon you, and then you can raise your hand and call upon you.
This question is from Laura. I have been meditating with a mantra given from Diksha for over 2.5 years now, barely missing a day. Meditation still continues to feel like a chore for me, something I have to force myself to do with great will. I have fallen the last few months, only meditating 1 to 2 times a week at best. While I feel good after meditation, I have no desire for it. How can I cultivate the desire to meditate and to form a genuine enjoyment of the practice?
It's a good question of how do I make my meditation better? How do I want to meditate and make my meditation better so that I do want to meditate more? I am reminded of Swami Ashokananda. He wrote this beautiful essay in a book, Meditation According to the Monks of the Ramakrishna Order. It's a book which you can purchase. I recommend it to Laura, but everybody else also. I was also benefited by reading it. Some of the senior-most monks of our order at that time, in the 1940s and 50s, they contributed to this volume. I am referring to one particular essay in that volume by Swami Ashokanandaji. He was a great master of Vedanta who was in San Francisco, in the Vedanta Society of Northern California in the 1940s, 50s, 60s. So in that essay, which is almost at the beginning of the book, the name of the essay is called Before You Sit for Meditation. He makes these 10 points. It's a very valuable suggestion for deep meditation. Try to follow those 10 points as much as one can. You're guaranteed to have good meditation. What are these 10 points? I'll summarize quickly. 1, he begins this essay with a teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna's answer to this question would be, how do I meditate better? He would give the example of the washerman with the dye. He had a vat of dye, and people would bring their cloth to him and say, dye me my cloth in red or yellow or whatever. And the washerman would put it in his vat and bring it out and give it to that person. Now, Swami Ashokananda says, he writes there that at first I didn't quite understand what Sri Ramakrishna meant. I thought the people were coming with a clean cloth and then they would get it dyed in, say, the color of God, yellow or blue or green or whatever it is. And that's not a very helpful suggestion, because our whole problem is cleaning the cloth. Purification of mind is necessary for good meditation, and if you're saying come with a clean cloth, then you will have good meditation. I will teach you how to meditate and you will meditate very well. That's not very helpful, because my cloth is not clean. And then he says, I realized later, no, that's not what Sri Ramakrishna meant. He didn't mean those few saintly people with a very pure mind. He meant the rest of us. Our cloth is already spotted, but bring that and you can dye it in the color of God. Dip it in God, your mind will be dyed in the color of God. That's a very powerful suggestion. That's a very, very helpful observation. That means we can all be dyed, we can dye ourselves, DYE. We can dye ourselves in the color of God, become spiritualized. How? So he gives 10 points there. First, regularity. Meditate every day. So when she's saying that I have stopped meditating, I do it maybe once or twice a week because I don't feel like it. No, don't do that. Then you are surrendering to the mind. What's the use of meditating mechanically and hardly paying attention? There's a great use, that you have not surrendered to the mind. The mind is not interested in meditation. The mind is in a hurry and we just rush through the motions. All right. That's not ideal, but still do it. Be inflexible on that point. You are lucky, you have already taken mantra diksha, initiation. So you have a whole procedure and a lineage and a teaching from that lineage and the mantra itself. Just to do it mechanically, quickly, just takes a few minutes. Just a few minutes. Everybody can spare those few minutes. Everybody in the world. There's nobody so busy who can. I'm always reminded of Martin Luther, the founder of the Protestant movement about 500, 600 years ago. And it struck me in his diaries, he writes that every day I spend an hour on my knees praying before I start my day. He was a very, very busy man. Very busy man. And he says the days I have no time at all, I spend 2 hours praying. An extra hour praying. So, regularly, don't give up, even if it is mechanical. I'm not saying do it mechanically, I'm not saying hurry through the process, but even if that's what happens, do it regardless. Don't give up. So, regular meditation, and generally meditation is twice a day, at least morning and evening. Early morning, begin your day, and towards the end of the day, if you can meditate. Others do. For example, in one of our ashrams, at least I have seen in the Vedanta Society of Southern California, Swami Sarvapriyananda, who founded it, he made it a rule thrice a day. Everybody there. Early in the morning, sit and meditate together. Then at noon, you sit and meditate together. Then in the evening after Arati, everybody gets together, sits and meditates. So this is whatever your day is, this is a monastery. 3 times a day you will sit and meditate together. So that's regularity. Second, connected to that regularity is regular time. Not only I will meditate every day, but also as far as possible at a fixed time. See, we are creatures of habit, and the body is a creature of habit, the mind is a creature of habit. If you don't eat meals at a regular time, you get sick. Maybe when you are young, the body can take it. But when you are in your 40s and 50s, if you have a wildly unpredictable food routine, for example, lunch and breakfast and dinner, nothing is fixed. You'll get sick pretty soon. The body can't take it anymore. And if you eat at the right time, it helps in digestion. Similarly, meditation, the mind also is a creature of habit. So if it is habituated to quietening down, sitting in a holy atmosphere and repeating the mantra and meditating at a particular time, it will be inclined to do so at that time. Over the years, just that time itself will be enough to plunge you into deep meditation. It becomes a great asset. Great asset. You might say it is routine, it's mechanical, but it's a great asset. What is routine, becomes mechanical also becomes effortless. You cannot not do it then. Just as addictions, bad habits, we are trapped by them, struggle. Similarly, good habits are great friends. Effortlessly you can do those things at that particular time. I was so moved to see, I've seen this many times, senior monks. I saw this with my own eyes in a hospital. One monk was brought in for an operation one evening, and after the operation, he was brought in still under anesthesia and put in the bed in front of me. I was sick. I was also in that hospital. That monk was put in. He was elderly. He was in his 80s maybe. And since I was sick, early in the morning, I thought I can skip meditation. I can lie down and meditate because after all I'm sick. Excused. And to my surprise, I saw this old monk 80 plus years old, who had been operated, surgery, major surgery and general anesthesia the day before, sitting up ramrod straight in his bed in front of me. I could see it. Facing the wall. It was still dark in the ward. Nobody around. Before sunrise. Facing the wall, sitting straight for 2 or more hours. How? Lifelong habit. Particular time of the day. Similarly, I heard of another monk, ICU. In the last days of his life, would die in the next few hours. But the nurses, this I did not see myself, but the nurses, the doctors said, we would see invariably. See, in the ICU, the lights are always on. You really can't see by looking at whether it's daytime or nighttime. The people are terribly sick. Exactly just before 4 a.m., this monk who is lying down in the bed, his fingers would start moving and start doing japa, repeating the mantra. How? Time, regular time. It's a lifetime's practice. Continuous practice. I have myself seen this. A monk suffered a stroke as he collapsed. He was lifted up and they were quickly taking him to the hospital. And I don't know how he was semi-conscious maybe, but I saw clearly his hands were like this. He started moving, doing japa. So, fixed time. Over time, you will see over the years, this becomes a great asset. Third, fixed place. Just like we have this place, we have meditation halls or shrines or temples. Make a shrine a holy place for yourself. It can be a room in your house if you can afford that. It can be a corner of a room. Use that only for meditation. And the vibrations, over time, this place will acquire vibrations. Keep your shrine there, keep the pictures there, whatever your rosary there for japa, it will acquire vibrations. It will become a place of serenity and quietness and inwardness for you. Wherever in later life, you can always retreat to the shrine for peace. So fixed place. It becomes a great aid. Then, these are just aids. Swami Ashokanji says, see, we must slowly start the work of cleaning up. You see, clean up the place before you leave it. Long before leaving it, in our journey of meditation, cleaning up is necessary. So cleaning up, we must starve the negative and feed the positive. Here I love the old Native American story here of the two wolves in our nature, a dark wolf and a wolf of light. Which win? They are fighting. Which one will win? Depending on the one you have fed. Over time, you give scraps from your table, food to which wolf? The good one or the dark one? The evil one or the good one? And you feed the good one. How do you feed the good? The dark one is things which are worldly, which are negative, which are disturbing. The more we dwell upon it, the more it is strengthened. Swami Ashokanji says, it is best in our case to take an oblique approach. Attack from the flank. Don't directly grapple with negativities. Strong desires, addictions, trauma, guilt, hatred, prejudices. If you try to directly grapple with it, it strengthens. You're pouring psychic energy into it. It's like it'll suck energy from you and it'll become bigger and stronger. It's a demon, or they are demons. Who was it? Nietzsche, who said, when you stare long enough into the abyss stares back at you. So that can be a terrifying thing, to see the darkness noticing you. Then, that's how people end up committing suicide, going crazy. That's what happens. The darkness takes over the mind. Or the other saying, when you grapple with monsters, you run the risk of becoming a monster yourself. So, the way to do it, the intelligent way to do it is approach it sideways. Instead of directly fighting with it, starve it, weaken it. Don't dwell on it. Yes, I know it is horrible. Don't think about it. Whatever it is, it's horrible, it's scary, it's producing great anxiety, don't think about it. Replace it. Remember, the mind abhors a vacuum. Replace it with the positive. Play a bhajan in your room, play a lecture on spirituality, play devotional music, keep pictures. Sri Ramakrishna would insist, keep pictures of gods and goddesses around. Now there's not only around, on your wallpaper also, on your computer, on your phone. Surround yourself with positivity. Read the life stories. Instead of reading gossip on internet, read the life stories of people you consider to be enlightened. See, when we read that, we download it automatically. What we spend time with, we are continuously downloading. You are simultaneously feeding the good wolf, the white wolf, and starving the evil one. What happens over time is your task becomes easier. Then the cleanup is easier. Before that, trying to clean up is you're going to end up with more serious problems. So that is the suggestion he gives, cleaning up. But cleaning up, careful, be careful, tread lightly. And then he says, one serious problem is bad company. He says, there are people who can remain unaffected by their company, but he says it's very rare. We are affected by our company. Show me your... nowadays it's much easier. I can see your Facebook friends. I see your Facebook friends, I know what you are, who you are. Whom are you friends with? Whom do you like? With whom do you want to spend time with? What influence are they having on me, on my mind? Just a holy company. Surround yourself with people, like-minded people. If that's not possible, with books and I know nowadays movies and talks and all. So create this holy company around yourself. But he says there, more precisely, he says at least avoid bad company. Don't tell people you're bad company, I'm going to avoid you. One lady complains to Swami Ashokanandaji. Actually he's saying in one of his talks, people will say to you, Mum is no fun anymore since she has started going to the Vedanta society. People, you're not interested in going to parties and you're not interested in social circles. Nowadays social media, you drop out of social media. What happened to you? Are you depressed? Why did you drop out of social media? And Ashokanji says, good riddance to bad rubbish. At one time one must mature and pull out of all of that. It eats up your time. Not only does it eat up your time and energy, it directly feeds that evil wolf. I know of people very devoted and came and told me that now I have lots of money and everything is going great and I don't want to go for the next higher pay, next higher better house and better car or stuff, and I'm going to devote all my time. I'm going to take up this lower paying job and devote all my extra time to meditation, study and all. Good. Then they went on a cruise, this couple. And then they came back and told me, actually I've taken up this new job. It pays better. Why? There are these people on the cruise who clearly they were richer than me and they were doing much better than me. And they told me about this new opportunity which is too good to pass up. Well, bad company. Then the next thing is, Ashokanji says, asceticism. A little bit of asceticism is good. Not behaving like a prune, a spoiled sport, but this continuous consumerism. The latest gadget, the latest vacation, the latest movie or Broadway play, and then the best new Michelin-rated restaurant. And after all, this is Manhattan, right? It's the place for all of that. If you do it when you're in your early 20s, maybe it's all right, in your teens and early 20s. But if you're still doing it in your 50s and 60s, there's something wrong with you. Stop, for heaven's sake. Step back. Step back. I'm not saying that once in a while you shouldn't go and treat yourself to a nice meal. You can. But that should not be the purpose of life. The things we memorized as kids. Live to eat, eat to live. Eat to live, don't live to eat. This is heresy in a foodie's place like Manhattan, I know. Food, fashion, parties, engagements, all of that reduced to a minimum. Step back. Too many engagements, too many obligations, too many transactions with people, that does not go with meditation. It's just the opposite. You're creating too many difficulties for yourself. You don't want it anymore, so why do it? Somebody put it very beautifully. You must see the clear difference between what you want really and what you are doing. What am I doing in life? And what is it that I really want in life? If there is a big gap, take notice immediately. Get to work. You need to do something about it immediately. If there is a very big gap between what you really want in life and what you are doing in life. It applies to everything, especially to spirituality. If you really want spirituality, you are blessed. Take action straight away. So, asceticism is good for meditation. And then a few more points he makes, a very deep. I suggest you read that essay. It's really wonderful. He says that before meditation, be quiet for some time. Don't be intensely active on a phone and social media and then jump into your meditation seat and expect to meditate. And the next moment, jump out of your meditation. It's not a trampoline. So a quietness before meditation hours. And he says, once you get into your meditation seat, sit for meditation, approach it, he says, with the feeling of detachment. At that point, I am not related to the world. Imagine the whole world outside the meditation room has disappeared. I am not related to anything or anybody. I am not a husband or wife. I am not a father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, not an employee or a boss. I have no relation with anything or anybody at all. I am and my Lord is. Approach it with the feeling of eternity. He has described how generate those feelings. These are something called Ananta Samapatti. It's from Yoga Sutras. There are these techniques for making the mind vast and peaceful before meditation. This leads to the thing which Sri Ramakrishna said, the one condition for spirituality, which is yearning. I really want God realization. I really love my Lord. There's this song they sing in Strawberry Fields. I really want to see you. I think my sweet Lord. So they sing, yes. So that's John Lennon singing. I really want to see you. I know, I'm sure it is possible. And that is the goal of my life. Just even Swami Ashokanji says, I know what you will say, that I don't have that yearning, what can I do? But he says, is it impossible to simulate it? Is it impossible to try to imagine what it feels like to want God? We have so many vivid descriptions. Sri Ramakrishna's life stories of saints. You read it, you'll find the vivid descriptions of how they pined and wept for God. Even a little bit of that, one teardrop. So, if you can do that, then meditation becomes much, much easier. And finally he says, and this is rare, if you can come into contact with an enlightened person, even once, and hear it from their lips, that God is real, God can be realized. Something talks from them to the depths of our unconscious. It becomes real. Suddenly it becomes real for us. That's a great, great blessing. He says only those who have experienced it, coming to contact with a genuinely holy person, then spirituality really becomes real for us at that time. Then there is no going back. It may take a long time, but we will go forward. I'm sorry I took up so much time, but I thought this is a summary of, it was not a good summary, it was more or less the whole essay. Anybody has a question? Please raise your hand. Yes, please come here and tell us your name and ask the question.
Pranam Swamiji, this is Shujoy. I had a follow-up question, and thanks for explaining the last question. So, when facing with doubts in life and during the spiritual practice, how do I find the clarity to continue back on the path and bring myself back to that point?
Yes. First of all, don't take the doubt seriously. Don't be too worried about the mind. Mind is bored. All right. Mind is doubtful. All right. Mind is not interested. All right. Treat the mind like you would treat a toddler. Take care of it. Do whatever has to be done. But don't take the demands of the toddler seriously. There's an old saying, children should be seen, not heard. So the mind is like a child. Have you seen the innocent, blissful smile on the face of a baby? Completely blissful, so beautiful. But next moment that baby can fly into a rage and scream as if the world is come crashing down. Nothing has happened. Just some little baby problem. The mind is like that. Therefore, it is only the immature parents who jump around to the whims of the baby all the time. They will collapse from exhaustion very soon unless they learn better. So they don't jump around at the demands of the mind. So Vivekananda called it the monkey mind. Don't jump around at the demands of the mind or at the complaints of the mind. Oh, the mind has doubts. All right, we'll try to settle down your doubts by reading, by asking people, reading books, and the doubt will go away after some time. And after a few years, you'll forget even that what the doubt was. You'll remember you had a doubt and the mind troubled you with doubts, but what exactly was the doubt, you'll have forgotten. So mind is non-serious in these ways. The mind loses belief. The mind loses all interest in spiritual practice. All right. That mind which has a lot of interest and enthusiasm for spiritual practice has lost interest in spiritual practice. All right, it will again get back interest. No doubt about it. What we need to do is, at the moments when the mind has doubt, at the moments when the mind is bored, at the moments when the mind is not interested in spiritual practice, to whatever extent we can, don't break. Just carry on the spiritual. Your reading, your little meditation, your little service that you give to humanity, whatever. The 4 yogas. Carry on. From the Vedantic perspective, if you ask, mind has a doubt, it is in that indubitable light of the self, in that I, the one witness consciousness, to me the mind with its doubts are appearing. What is it doubt about? That its mind is doubting, am I really the self? It is appearing to the self. It's laughable. If you do that, the mind will shyly slink away with its doubts, sheepishly. So in Advaitic perspective, doubts really have a very difficult difficult time standing up. Doubts can be more serious when it comes to, say, a dualistic perspective. In dualistic perspective, we believe in a God. We believe, we don't know yet. But who does not know that they themselves exist? You cannot doubt your own existence. The moment any doubt comes up about that, go back to your own existence and start from there. Notice this doubt is temporary. It is coming up in the mind in the waking state. It will also disappear the moment the mind goes into a dream state or a deep sleep state. Why dream or deep sleep? Now itself, within a few minutes, this doubt will disappear. Why take this doubt so seriously? And in Advaita Vedanta, another advantage is, so first of all, from the perspective of the unmistakable light of the self, that consciousness. It's like doubting the existence of the sun. You're reading, does the sun exist? You're reading by the sunlight. It's even more direct, even more indubitable than that. So that's at one level. At another level, Advaita Vedanta, a more lower level, Advaita Vedanta has a special advantage that every possible doubt can be answered. You formulate your doubt and you look around, ask an Advaita teacher or look into the books, more or less just about every possible question has been asked and answered. It's been going on for centuries, millennia. I remember when I asked my Advaita teacher, one of my teachers, in front of the gate of Belur Math, Swami Sarvapriyananda, that I asked him, I have a doubt, may I ask, hesitantly, if he will get upset. And he says, ask away. Better minds than yours have pondered on these questions and asked questions for thousands of years. Don't think that because you have a question, Advaita Vedanta will come tumbling down. Don't be afraid. Ask away. Whatever you want to ask away. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. A question. We'll end with this question. Run out of time.
The question is from Bhupendra. Swamiji, our Vedic philosophy often equates the dream state with the wakeful state, suggesting both the transient and illusory manifestations of Maya. However, I find this comparison inadequate for the following reasons. Dreams are typically brief, disjointed events, often influenced by our mental state or experiences from the wakeful period. They lack continuity and are often forgotten upon waking. In dreams, we usually observe rather than interact with the minimal control over our actions. On the other hand, the wakeful state is marked by continuity, where past experiences shape future actions. Our memories and actions in the wakeful state are interconnected, forming a coherent narrative over time. In this state, we actively engage with the world, fulfilling responsibilities and building relationships. Given these differences, it seems unfair to place the dream state on the same level as the wakeful state. The deep sleep state, characterized by a lack of dreams, is governed by our body's intricate biological and neurological systems. Modern science offers detailed explanation of these states, suggesting that our understanding of consciousness in Vedic philosophy could benefit from incorporating current scientific knowledge. I would appreciate your thoughts on this subject.
So what he's talking about is related to Advaita Vedanta, to the Mandukya Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where upon one interpretation, not all, upon one interpretation which is called Drishti Shrishti Vada, the waking is no more real than the dream. There is one limitless consciousness and to which appearances appear. Some of those appearances we categorize as dreams, some as waking, but they're all appearances. From the perspective of consciousness, they're all appearances. So waking and dream are not fundamentally different. It's not that waking is real and dreams are not real. Our common sense approach is the waking is real and the dreams are not real. Now before I dive into this, whatever the gentleman has written, let me point out there are other interpretations. If you are more comfortable, as most of us actually are, that the waking is real, dreams are just dreams. If you want to take that approach, there's a waking state, there's a separate dream state, and there's a deep sleep state. From that perspective also, Advaita Vedanta can be and has been taught. That is called Srishti Drishti Vada. Creation and then experience. Creation and seeing. Whereas the opposite, Drishti Srishti Vada, seeing is creation. Like dreams. Remember, in the dreams, when we wake up, we realize whatever we saw, whoever we saw in the dreams, they were there as long as we were dreaming. It's not that they're there somewhere which we are not seeing right now. They're not there anymore. And the suggestion is, the claim is, that that's also true of the waking world. It's only part of our experience. Other than our experience, there's no such world. Now, immediately objections will come, because our common sense view is that waking world is real and the dream is not real. And no matter how much Advaita we study, until one reaches some level of realization, one will continue to behave. Even if I give all sorts of arguments for equating dreaming and waking, I'll still continue to behave as this waking world is real. I will not treat this waking world as a dream. But let us now look at the arguments. One argument is, just to read out from the second paragraph onwards.
Dreams are typically brief, disjointed events, often influenced by our mental state or experiences from the wakeful period. They lack continuity and are often forgotten upon waking.
Okay. So dreams, here's the difference, he says. There's a clear difference between waking and dreaming. Dreams lack continuity. One dream doesn't seem to have much connection with the next dream. You dream you're eating pizza and you put it in the refrigerator and you think, when I come back into the dream, I'll eat it again. It won't be there. Neither the pizza nor the refrigerator will be there. You won't even remember it in the next dream. So there's no continuity. Whereas the waking world is continuous. You wake up in the same bed every day. You go to the same job. You meet the same people every day. You have a clear memory of your earlier days And so you have a coherent narrative. So clearly the waking world seems to have is real and the dream world is just a dream. Yes? No. Take a closer look. It can get pretty creepy fast. Take a closer look. In the dream world itself, it's only after we wake up we say it's all disjointed. It's just a dream. It's just vague. In the dream world itself, does anybody feel in general when you're dreaming? You don't know you're dreaming, you're in the dream, of course. Do you feel, oh, this is all disjointed and not continuous? There's no coherent narrative here. It must be a dream. No, we don't. We don't. It feels just like a waking world. It's only after waking up in comparison to your waking experience that feels vague and disjointed. But in the experience, it feels pretty much like this. We are not filled with doubt. How disjointed? There's no narrative here. What happened? Oh, this must be a dream. Continuity. So the core argument is continuity equals reality. No, it doesn't. Let me show you. This is again something I got from a Tibetan Lama. He says that imagine a person who has the same dream every night. Sees the same people, goes to the same place. Suppose a dream is repeated. It's quite possible. A dream may be repeated. Has the same dream. At the same time, in his waking world, he's affected by Alzheimer's and is losing his memory. Everything is disjointed. So his waking world is disjointed. He doesn't remember most of what happened yesterday. Long-term memory is there, but as it happens in advanced old age, short-term memory just disappears. Just don't remember what's going on. I'm here, but what's this? Who are these people? I don't even remember the people. Disjointed, discontinuous. And the waking and the dream world is continuous, having the same dream every night. Now will you say the dreams are real and the waking is a dream now? Will you say that the dreams have become reality? The dreams are the real waking and the waking is the real dream now? You will not say that. You will say in the waking he has got Alzheimer's, in the dream he is getting a repetitive dream. You will still say dream is dream, it's still a dream, and waking is waking. Waking is real and dream is false. You will still say that. Continuity is not an argument for reality. I've said two things. One, in dreams, we do not feel the lack of continuity. It feels quite continuous to us. It feels quite logical to us. Only after waking up, we feel the discontinuity. That's one argument. Second is, if you reverse it, if you establish a continuity in the dream, and if you establish discontinuity in the waking, which happens, will you say that then the waking world has become unreal? Will you say that the dream world has now become real? No. Continuity is not an argument. See, this claim that dream and waking are on the same level is made most famously in Gaudapada's Karika, Mandukya Karika. And there he faces these arguments, the same argument. There are many more arguments. I've catalogued 10 arguments against equating dream with waking. It's all from Gaudapada. Yeah. Shankaracharya's Guru's Guru. So 10 arguments against equating dream and waking. That waking is real, dream is just dream. To show that 10 arguments, and all 10 arguments are cut down. Swami Nikhilanandaji, in his 4-volume work on the Upanishads, in the volume which contains the Mandukya Upanishad with Mandukya Karika, in that volume there's an appendix on dreaming and waking. And he shows that the arguments which say that waking is real and dreams are false, those arguments don't hold water. 10 arguments he has taken up and he has cut them down. But he has just taken from Gaudapada, what Gaudapada says. For example, one argument was given by this gentleman, continuity. I can give you a few more. You can try your Vedanta against those arguments. Vedanta says dreams and waking are equally real or equally false. One argument is, no, that's not true. Waking is public. Here we are all agreed that we are all sitting together here in this hall and listening to the Swami. We can all agree on where this is Vedanta Society of New York, and we agree that these people are around us. It's a common shared reality. But our dreams are not shared reality. Everyone has separate dreams. So waking is a shared reality. Dreams are private, internal. separate for each one of us. So they are our dreams. What's the argument? Dreams not being shared, not being public, they must be our personal imaginations. But waking reality is really real because it's all shared. Same argument Gaudapada will use. It will fall flat, this argument. Why? In your dream, when you are in the dream, you don't know you're dreaming, and within the dream, do you feel it's not a shared reality? Suppose you are having a cup of tea with your friend. Please have some tea, you say to your friend. And your friend will say, I can't see the cup. It's your dream, you see. I can't see it's in your dream. The cup is not shared with me. It's not a publicly shared reality. You never feel that. Everybody in the dream shares the same reality. Nowadays we understand it far better. We have virtual spaces. In virtual spaces, everybody in that virtual space shares the same reality. People outside the virtual space will not understand what's going on. So, shared reality, a public reality is no argument that the thing can be real. It could be false, it could be a dream. And Gaudapada says, yes, it is a shared reality, but a dream is a dream and a waking is also a dream. What else? Look, dreams are, this is another argument. Dreams are vague, smoky. Waking reality is industrial grade reality. See, it's so solid here. You see? Samuel Johnson famously used this argument against Bishop Berkeley. When somebody said, Bishop Berkeley, talking about subjective idealism, that the whole world is in our minds. There's nothing outside. It's said that Samuel Johnson kicked a rock. I refute it thus. He kicked, see, it's a solid rock, I'm kicking it. But then the answer is the same. In the dream also you could kick the rock and you could feel very solid. Do we say in the dream, it's rather smoky and vague in here, it must be a dream? No. Sometimes dreams can be very terrifying. It can be so real. We all have the dream of running to catch a train or something like that. So born of tensions or things taken from the waking world. But it feels very real. That's why we get scared. That's why we have nightmares. We don't say it's so vague. That means it's a dream. No, it feels very real in the dream itself. So, waking feels real and solid. Dreams feel smoky. That's only after you've woken up. In the dream feels pretty real. Like this, 10 possible arguments against equating dream and waking, and then Gaudapada, and then if you can find the English translation, Nikhilanandaji has shown how those arguments don't stand. Now he says, but the dreams are constructed of elements taken from our waking experience. That's true. Can our understanding of waking, dreaming, deep sleep benefit from modern science? Certainly. Certainly it can. We live in the age of science and we should welcome insights from all perspectives. And it can benefit, and it is benefiting. One book I read in this regard was Waking, Dreaming, Being, Evan Thompson, where he takes up the analysis of dreams and sleeping from a neuroscientific, Buddhist and Vedantic perspective. He's a professor of philosophy at the University of British Columbia. We can benefit, and we should aim to benefit from it. Yes. But remember, just a little aside here, the analysis of waking, dreaming, deep sleep, what were they doing in the Upanishads? They are not particularly interested in waking, dreaming, or deep sleep. They were using waking, dreaming, and deep sleep experiences to show that we are one limitless awareness. To point to that. It's not an exploration of waking or dreaming or deep sleep. Whereas when science explores waking, dreaming, deep sleep, science is interested in the physiological correlates of waking, dreaming, especially sleeping, what's going on in the body, in the brain, and practical effects uses, like how can we help people with sleep apnea, things like that. There's a biomedicine now, bioengineering, where they design machines which can help in better sleep. So that's more concerned with the physiological aspects of waking, dreaming, especially dreaming and sleeping. Whereas Vedanta is concerned with the inside-out view. How you feel during waking, how you feel during dreaming, how you are experiencing deep sleep. That's what Vedanta is more interested in. All right. Let me do the peace chant. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.